Hello and welcome. My name is Jennifer McLean. I'm a Senior Product Manager with IEEE Educational Activities, and I will be helping to moderate today's event. IEEE is the world's largest technical professional organization dedicated to advancing technology for the benefit of humanity. Before we begin, please note a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen are engagement tools you can use. All the tools are resizable and movable, so feel free to move them around to make the most out of your virtual event space. If you have questions for today's presenters, you can submit them through the Q&A widget on your screen or click the purple Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen. We will answer as many questions as time allows. If you click the green resources icon at the bottom of your screen, you'll find more information about today's event and future events. Finally, the on-demand link for today's event will be emailed to all registrants approximately 2 hours after today's session. If you'd like to tweet about this session, please use the hashtag IEEELearn. Our virtual event today is about wireless local area network sensing, or WLAN. WLAN sensing is the use of IEEE 802.11 technology to enable devices with WLAN capability to obtain spatial and contextual awareness of the environment in which they are located and enable applications such as presence and proximity detection, device-free positioning, and gesture classification, among many others. This informal talk will explore the value and potential of using IEEE 802.11 technology to enable sensing applications, potential WLAN sensing applications and corresponding KPIs in home, enterprise, vehicular, and industrial settings, how IEEE 802.11 technology is used to enable sensing applications both in sub-7 gigahertz and 60 gigahertz unlicensed bands, and the scope of work of a new 802.11 task group on WLAN sensing. Our panelists today are Paul Mikulich, Tony Hahn, and Claudio Da Silva. Paul Mikulich is focused on developing new ventures, technologies, technical standards, and intellectual property in the data communications and broadband industries as an angel investor and board member of early-stage companies. He holds volunteer leadership positions in the IEEE and its technical activities, the Computer Society, and Standards Association organizational units. He is an IEEE Fellow, and since 2001, leads the IEEE 802 LAN Man Standards Committee as chairman, overseeing 75 active technical standards and the 50 concurrent projects for wired and wireless networking applications. Tony Hahn's research interests include wireless communications, integrated sensing and communication, standardization in IEEE 802.11 and 3GPP. He served as chair of the 802.11 WLAN Sensing Topic Interest Group, and he is now chair of the 802.11 WLAN Sensing Study Group. He is the vice chair of IEEE WTC Special Interest Group on Integrated Sensing and Communication, and he currently serves as the Integrated Sensing and Communication Workshop co-chair of IEEE GlobeCom 2020. Claudio Da Silva is a wireless systems engineer with the Next Generation and Standards Group of Intel Corporation. He is responsible for driving technology and product innovation by leading and contributing to various standardization, certification, and regulatory activities. He is currently focused on promoting WLAN sensing and 60 gigahertz Wi-Fi in various forums and is an active contributor to both IEEE 802.11 and the Wi-Fi Alliance. And now I'll turn it over to Paul to get us started.
Thank you, Jennifer. Before we get started, a quick disclaimer. All the opinions that you hear during this webinar are mine, Tony's, and Claudio's, and not the position of the IEEE. So welcome, everyone, to our fourth IEEE 802 LAN Man Standards Committee Tech Talk. For those that are not familiar with IEEE 802, we are focused on developing high-quality, market-relevant technical networking standards. Today's focus is on an important emerging market sector wireless LAN sensing. We're fortunate today to have Claudio Da Silva and Tony Ham with us, two of the leaders of the wireless LAN sensing activity within IEEE 802. And welcome, gentlemen. Claudio is on camera. Tony, unfortunately, we're not able to put him on camera today. So welcome, guys. Let me start off with a two-part question for you, Claudio and Tony. Number one, what is wireless LAN sensing? And Tony, if you could answer that. And second, can you describe a couple of the applications for it? And Claudio, if you could take that. So, Tony?
Yes, thank you, Paul. So, before we start, I would like to announce that the TGBF WLAN Sensing Task Group was already established in September this year, which is very recently. And, it's really a milestone for these interesting topics. And okay, so let's get back to the first question, the definition for WLAN sensing. So WLAN sensing is the use of received WLAN signals to detect features of intended targets in a given environment. So there are basically three keywords here. First one, features, which include range, velocity, angle, motion, presence or proximity, gesture, and so on. And the second keyword is target, which include object, human, and animals. So the last keyword is environment, which include room, car, enterprise, and so on. So that's basically the general definition for WLAN sensing.
Thank you very much, Tony. And Claudio, can you describe a couple of the use cases?
Yes, Paul, thanks, and hello, everyone. So as shown in the slide, we have two main groups of sensing applications, depending on which 802.11 technology is used. The first group of sensing applications, shown on the left-hand side of this slide, uses the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz band and typically rely on the fact that as a person or object moves around the environment, it impacts how signals propagate. Therefore, 802.11 signals contain a signature of the environment in which the devices are located. With the use of appropriate software, possibly including machine learning algorithms, sensing applications could track the received signals over time and for multiple devices, since most of us have many 802.11 devices in our homes, place of work, and place of business, and detect and classify events such as detecting when a person enters a house and detecting if someone in the environment trips and falls to the ground. Now, going to the figure on the right-hand side, the second group of sensing applications use millimeter wave or 60 gigahertz 802.11 technology and typically have a shorter range but much increased resolution compared to the first group of applications in the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz band. Actually, due to the large bandwidth of millimeter wave signals, the obtained resolution is so fine that we could detect the movement of fingers and enable gesture recognition and game control applications. And it could also enable vital signs monitoring, such as breathing rate and heart rate. Millimeter wave sense applications typically rely on Doppler processing and also on the fact that WLAN devices in this band support very narrow beamforming.
Very good, Claudio. This is very interesting to me because it doesn't require any sensors to be on the individual that's being tracked or monitored. And I'm particularly excited about applications for people like my mother, who's an older person. I would be able to monitor her remotely, her well-being remotely. So is that accurate? No sensors are required to be placed on the individual or device being tracked?
Yes, that's correct, Paul. And that is actually one of the main advantages of the technology. The technology is passive in the sense that the person or object being sensed doesn't carry a wearable or a device such as a cell phone. Instead, applications rely on changes to the radio channel. As a result, just as an example, in addition to monitoring of elderly people, a number of other applications have been recently proposed as tools to help in COVID-19 related efforts, including tracking the number of people in a closed environment, and even detecting if someone in a closed environment sneezes.
Excellent. So one of the things that's interesting about this is that it enables features of 802.11 that are not data communications related. And I think that's particularly innovative for 802 because IEEE 802 WLAN standards have always been primarily concerned with communications between devices. And this technology doesn't. So can you describe how 802.11 technology is being used to support sensing while maintaining compatibility with 802.11 standards, Claudio?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is very natural for 802.11 technology to be used for sensing applications because all 802.11 devices already estimate different radio channel parameters as part of their regular operation as a communication device. So as we discussed in the beginning, we are now in the process of developing a new amendment to 802.11 specific for WLAN sensing. And this new amendment or standard will be built upon the 802.11 standard, and as a result will be fully compatible to it.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Claudio. Tony, can you describe some of the key performance indicators that are important to wireless LAN sensing?
Yeah, sure, Paul. So here we list some examples for the KPI for the WLAN sensing, which include resolution, accuracy, coverage. So for resolution, there are three aspects. So range resolution, angular resolution, and the velocity resolution. So, and for the KPI about accuracy, we also have the similar three aspects: range, angular, and the velocity. And for coverage, we may consider about range coverage and the field of view. So that's basically the general KPI examples for WLAN sensing.
Thank you, Tony. One of the things that I would like to highlight for the people that are attending the webinar is how you brought this work into 802. I think it's very important for people to understand that we encourage new work to come into 802, and this project and you gentlemen are a perfect example of success. So can you talk about that a little bit, Tony?
Yes, Paul. So this idea is brought to IEEE 802.11 by three key reasons. The first one is the market driver. So, there are increasing need for smart home detection, positioning, and gesture recognition, this kind of applications. And the second reason is academia. It's really a hot topic with an increasing number of academic publications. And we can see that there are more and more ISAC workshops in IEEE flagship conferences. So the ISAC means integrated sensing and communication. So also there are more and more special issues in top-level journals talking or describing about the ISAC topics. And the third reason is industry. A wide variety of vendors, including chip vendors and startups, currently build a lot of products with proprietary solutions for the WLAN sensing marketplace. So based on these three key reasons, I and Claudio initiated the discussion in IEEE 802.11 in July 2019, which is last year. And we actually got very positive feedback during that meeting and discussion. And lots of group members engaged in the discussion. So after that, the corresponding topic interest group, TIC, and a study group, SG, are established, focusing on these interesting topics. And finally, L211 project task group BF was formally approved in September 2020. So this is basically the brief, the beginning of the whole story.
Excellent. Thank you, Tony. Before I get to my next question, I just would like to encourage everyone to submit your questions using the Q&A feature in the On24 platform. You'll find that at the bottom of your window, Q&A, because we're going to reserve 10 minutes at the end to handle questions from the participants. So before we move on, Claudio, roughly how many people are participating in the activity? And maybe it would be interesting for people to know how many were participating in the beginning and how many do you have now?
Yeah, that's a good question. In the beginning, when we were basically just discussing ideas, it was a group of maybe 30, 40 people. But with time, as the work progressed, the number of people increased. One thing that is enabling for broader participation of the community is the fact that all 802.11 and 802 meetings, they're being conducted electronically now due to the all travel restrictions that we have. And therefore, for example, yesterday we had a conference call which we had more than 100 people contributing to the effort.
Excellent. Thank you, Claudio. Yeah, as Claudio indicated, it's relatively easy to participate nowadays that we've gone all electronic. At the end of the presentation, you'll see links to the webpage, and the webpage has calendars of all the activities that are going on in 802, not just the wireless LAN sensing. Mm-hmm. So, very good. Thanks, Claudio. So the question, this begs the question, you know, there was products and services out there based on, you know, sensing technologies that were proprietary. Why bring this to 802 for standardization?
Yeah, so different from proprietary technologies, standardized solutions, technologies that are built based on a standard, they allow for the interoperability of devices manufactured by multiple vendors. And this is achieved by developing a standard, right, that defines common interfaces, modes of operation, and common features as well, among many other things. As a result, by enabling competition, standardized technologies are often more broadly available and have lower cost than proprietary technologies. And it's worth noting that since the WLAN sensing standard or amendment will be built upon an existing standard, the 802.11 standard, WLAN sensing devices that support WLAN sensing applications will naturally come to the market as new devices are deployed.
Great. Thank you, Tony. Claudio, excuse me. All right. That pretty much wraps up the presentation portion of the webinar. As I mentioned earlier, here are some resources for you to investigate. We've got the wireless LAN sensing task group. Unfortunately, we're missing the link there. We're going to have to fix that before we post this. And you can go to the 802.11 wireless LAN working group homepage, and we have quite a bit of information on how to get involved with 802, as well as there are links to the Standards Association, which is responsible for the standardization processes used within the IEEE, and the IEEE Educational Activities Learning Network, where there's a host of educational material. And now that I'm reading down to the bottom of the slide, I see the study group homepage there's a link to it there. So Jennifer, let's open this up to questions. Do you have a question that you can pose for us from our participants?
Yes, there's a couple questions for you guys. What could be missing possibly from 802.11, which a sensor in a body could supplement, like blood pressure or heart rate?
Not sure I fully understand the question. Tony, do you want to try to handle that one?
So, based on my understanding about this question, so it's you mentioned the question is not related to the TGBF. So we are more talking about device-free sensing. We do not require any devices to be carried on the target. So it's another topic. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. I'm looking at one from Colin McGuire. He says, can you give any example of the technical features which could be added to the standard to facilitate testing? Claudio?
Sure, absolutely. So proprietary solutions today, they rely on mechanisms found in 802.11 that were not really designed to support sensing applications, right? So the goal of this new amendment will be define new procedures, mainly at the MAC layer, to basically fill that gap. So as part of the process, even though the scope is not fully formed yet, we'll develop, for example, mechanisms for stations to exchange capabilities, which WLAN sense capabilities they support, to enable, for example, the scheduling of transmissions that would support sensing, and define, for example, new forms of channel feedback if necessary. And then for 802.11 technology that makes use of the millimeter wave band, the 60 gigahertz band, the scope of the project is a little bit bigger since it also includes physical layer modifications, and then we might redefine some fields of the signal transmitter to better support, for example, Doppler processing. But again, the test group has just started, and the actual set of features is still up to discussion. We're considering new things, almost on a meeting basis, and we'll have a better, more formed sense of features next year in 2021.
Excellent. That actually brings up a topic that people have asked about is how long does it take to complete a project? And I know that you guys have been working on a schedule based on your analysis of prior work within 802. Tony, can you give the audience a rough idea of the major milestones and how long it takes to hit them?
Yes, Paul. So actually, we were discussing about this topic yesterday, and roughly estimation, we may have the initial draft in 2020, and the whole project may end in 2024. So that's the roughly estimation by now.
Okay,
correction. So the first draft is actually supposed to come early in 2022, not 2020.
Yeah, 2020 would be ambitious, Tony.
2022.
That's what Tony wants.
Yes.
That's not what's going to happen. Yeah. So for people that are not familiar with standards development, it takes a long time to arrive at a final technical standard. And the reason is, as Claudio pointed out, we've got, many dozens of people participating in the activity. And I want to emphasize that the IEEE 802 standardization activity is, your voting membership is for the individual. It's not the company that you work for or some entity that may be sponsoring your participation, but you are expected to participate as a technical expert, advancing the technical positions that you have. So as you can imagine, when you have many dozens of people participating in a competitive marketplace, it takes a while to build consensus, and consensus is defined inside of the IEEE 802 Landman Standards Committee as 75% of the membership supporting a particular position. And with these technologies, which are relatively complicated, there are a lot of technical points that receive a lot of debate and review and modification before that consensus level can be achieved. Therefore, it takes a lot of time. But as I pointed out at the beginning of the talk, we are market-driven for sure, but we're not going to rush. We're going to make sure that the document that we produce is of very high quality so that multi-vendor interoperability has a very high chance of success. And this is one of the hallmarks of IEEE 802. So let's move on to another question. Let's see, I'm looking at the question list here. Here's one from Pranab Paul. He asks, can small devices or a Raspberry Pi emit 802.11? And I actually think I might even be qualified to answer that. The answer is yes. 802.11 interfaces are highly integrated on silicon nowadays. And, all types of devices, all range of small devices are capable of supporting the 802.11 interface. Claudio, maybe you can expand upon that?
Yes, absolutely. That's the idea, right, of incorporating, again, new features into that piece of silicon that would enable WLAN sensing to be performed. Keep in mind, however, that in 802.11, we are only defining the radio component, right, of sensing. Right? On top of that, for example, to recognize gestures, you would have to have another piece of software that would actually enable that application to be performed. The definition of the application itself, it's beyond the scope of 802.11. In 802.11, again, we're only going to give you the signals, the radio signals necessary to support a very wide range of applications that would have then to be implemented by other parties. And that will open, and that will open, obviously, a lot of opportunity for innovation and research.
Excellent. So we're reaching the end of our half hour. I would like to very much thank Tony and Claudio for joining me on this fourth 802 Tech Talk, and for all of you to participate in it. I would like to emphasize again, we welcome participation in IEEE 802, and we're very welcoming of any new ideas or activities, or even additional people to help us get the work that we currently have in process done. We have about 50 concurrent projects, each project is similar to this one, the wireless LAN project. We have about 750 engineers working on them worldwide, and I'd like to encourage more people to get involved. So with that, I'd like to wrap it up. Jennifer?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Paul, Tony, and Claudio very much. As we noted earlier, the on-demand link for today's event will be emailed to everybody in about 2 hours from now. And before you leave, please don't forget to complete our feedback survey via the survey tool at the bottom of your screen. And please join us for one of our upcoming virtual events, and you can find the registration information link in the resource list. And we thank you all again, and have a great day.
Jennifer, I just noticed another question popped up on the Q&A screen. Can we handle that? Give us another minute.
Sure.
Yeah, we've got a question from John McCune of VESDA. He says, can you provide an example or describe how 60 gigahertz sensing will identify or discriminate objects to applications? Tony, can you do that? Answer that question for us, please.
Yes. So thanks for the question. So yeah, we basically have a few ways to do this kind of technology. So for example, we can use something like radar technology to do the range or Doppler or angular resolution. And based on this resolution, we can discriminate or identify the object, yes, to the applications. Yeah, that's a basic one example. And another example is we can, based on the CSI, which we got in the for the environment, and based on the CSI information, we can abstract some information. Also, the range Doppler or something information, and based on this kind of information, we can do the similar things. Yes.
Thank you, Tony. Just for those that,
answer the question.
Are not familiar, CSI stands for Channel State Information. And with that, we're really going to have to draw to a close. I see that there are some more questions in the Q&A box. We will answer them offline. So with that, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your participation. Take care and have a good day.
Bye.